Rajim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ahli bayti tayyibin tahirin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farjuhum. Mu'mineen, mu'minat, brothers and sisters in Islam and Iman. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Let's jump right into it. So the title is Spiritual Health Starts in the Kitchen. A lot of us, when we think about food, and the disclaimer, of course, is I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a life coach, I'm not a death coach, I'm not none of that. But there is a connection between the spiritual and the physical. I think everybody knows that. Usually when we think about improving our spiritual health, we talk about reading the Quran, reading these du'as, ziyarat, and things like that. People don't end up talking about the things that we put in our body, meaning food. We'll talk about not watching certain kinds of movies and not listening to certain kinds of music, not looking at certain things because we know that that affects our soul. But rarely do we hear people talking about the actual spiritual nutrition that we need. Because there is a connection, obviously, between the spiritual and the physical. When we have unhealthy things, then our spirit becomes unhealthy as well. So today, what we want to talk about, a few different things. One is we're going to talk about that importance between physical and the spiritual in terms of how we build that here. Then, as you saw too as a subtitle, one of the ways that we can improve our spiritual health, which worked for me for the past few years, is adopting a ketogenic lifestyle or a keto diet. So I'll talk a little bit about that. And then finally, as you see, we're in the kitchen, so we'll try to get together some recipes. Hopefully that'll make sense. And I have a taste tester here that can help out with that, inshallah. Okay. So first things first. There's a lot of discussion about the physical and the spiritual and the connection between the two and good food and bad food and all of this. The simple way of explaining is this: you are what you eat. Every society, every culture knows that. You are what you eat. Meaning, garbage in, garbage out. If we eat garbage, we're going to feel like garbage. Our soul will feel like garbage. If we eat garbage, what comes out of our mouth will be garbage. If we eat garbage, then what is in our mind, what we think, our thoughts will be garbage. Our behavior will be garbage. So we have to take that into consideration. And maybe we haven't been thinking about it. A lot of us are unaware of the unhealthy lifestyle that the majority of people have, right? Especially in America, more than anything else. And unfortunately, in this community, we have a lot of unhealthy eating habits. And I'm not simply talking about overeating or eating haram food, because that's really not an issue for, I think, a lot of us. Nobody's going out and eating like bacon and things like that. Our issues are about the halal food that we're eating is unhealthy, disgusting food. It's, in Arabic, you say khabith. It's disgusting. And probably by all accounts, it's not actually food. It's mostly chemicals and other things that we're having. So let me just give you some things to think about to show us that this is actually something that the Quran and Islam has really put a lot of emphasis on. Let's think first about this. Think back to the first human beings, Nabi Adam alayhi salam and Bibi Hawa alayhi salam. We talk about the whole episode, we talk about the sujood, Iblis, and all this stuff. The temptation and being sent from that garden, that paradise they were in, down to earth. What was actually the real cause of that transition? What did they do? They approached a tree and ate from it. It was what they ate actually, which was one of the main causes that caused them to descend, to leave a higher realm and come to a lower realm, to leave that heavenly paradise and come down to earth. So food that they ate was important in the sense that it made them lose that and made them gain some shame. For a lot of us, it's the same thing. That food that we may be eating may be taking us down to a lower spiritual version of ourselves. We may not be able to act as the best version of ourselves because of that. So interestingly enough, shaitan, this is one of the things he'll use. He won't go after us with haram stuff, for those of us who are practicing, but he will go after us with things which are halal, but they are bad for our soul's growth. Look at how the Quran addresses eating itself in many different ayat. So one example is in Surah Baqarah, ayah 186. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الناس, humans, people, كلوا مما في الأرض حلالا. Eat everything that's on the earth or from things that are on the earth, halal. So that's the part that usually we know. Okay, we're eating halal food, good Muslims. But we forget the second adjective, the other adjective that's brought here, right? كلوا مما في الأرض حلالا طيبا. Don't just eat halal food, but eat good, طيب halal food. Tayyib coming from tayyib, that's the same word that we use for when somebody applies itar or fragrance or something like that. Our souls will actually become polluted because we're not eating halal tayyib things. So it's not just about eating the halal stuff, but halal tayyib. Interestingly, Allah continues, وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ. Don't follow the footsteps of shaitan. He mentions eating good food, proper food, and then says don't follow shaitan. Again, without doing like in-depth tafsir here, but it seems like food has a huge part to play. We know from other riwayat that the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam talk about our tongues, our stomachs, our private parts. These are the three places where shaitan is going to get most of us, right? So we talk about two of them. The third one, meaning our stomachs, what we're eating, we usually don't end up talking about that. And then of course, إِنَّهُ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌ مُبِينٌ. Shaitan is an open enemy, meaning these are no secrets right now. All the stuff that we're going to be explaining today, and I don't want to make it too overwhelming, but the things that we'll be talking about, they should be obvious once they're explained. The problem is that there's so much misinformation, a lot of propaganda, and let's face it, a lot of industries, corporations benefiting from us eating unhealthy, garbage, trashy food. So we need to change our mindset about that and start to eat better things. Another example before we go on to our second topic is even think about throughout history, the Muslims who existed, a lot of them made mistakes because of the things they ate as well. Think about one of the famous narrations from Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He's on the battlefield on the day of Ashura talking to the enemies. And he's discussing with them, why is it that, because they say, we know that you are the grandson of the Prophet. We know that you are the son of Ali. We know that you are the son of Fatima. We know you're the brother of Hasan. We know all these things. We know your fada'il. We know this. But we still want to kill you, right? And they go on and list reasons. Imam Hussein responds with why they're such degenerates. Why are they so evil? What's wrong with their souls? He gives a few different things. One of the lines that he's reported to have said is, قَدْ مُلِئَتْ بُطُونَكُمْ مِنَ الْحَرَامِ. Your stomachs are filled with haram. And some ulama say in this context, it's not haram, meaning they're not drinking alcohol, they're not eating pork. These were practicing Muslims that were fighting against him, right? People who had memorized the Quran. So they were practicing. وَطُبِعَ عَلَى قُلُوبِكُمْ. So this food that they were eating, Imam Hussein seems to be alluding to the fact that that food that they ate put a seal on their hearts, cut them off from the truth. So in some senses, we see Allah saying, don't follow shaitan's footsteps. Nabi Adam, Bibi Hawa ate something and it caused them to descend, to come down to a lower earthly realm. We see people fighting against the Imam of their time because of the things that they ate as well. So of course, hopefully none of us get to that extreme, right? But a lot of things that we may not know what our spiritual potential is because we've never eaten proper healthy food. Everything that we're used to in our American diets, things that are sold here, even things that we have at the center, a lot of it is filled with things which are probably not good for us. And a person's not going to know their real potential unless they shift and try, at least for a little while, shift away from that, make some small steps, small substitutions. Then you'll be able to see, okay, you know what? There are a lot of benefits. Like, as many people who have tried different lifestyles, they've said, you know what? These new healthy lifestyles and habits, I feel so much different. I feel like a new person. So that's what we want to talk about today, inshallah. Let's go to our second point. And oh, by the way, I forgot that we do have, Slido will be open. So if you have any questions, let me open it up actually. So typical HICORL, right, is the code. Log on to Slido. Actually, let me open it up so I can pay attention to see if we have any questions that come up. Anytime you have any questions or comments or suggestions, especially if there's any doctors and nutritionists who know better than me, obviously, you want to throw in your comments, then please do that, inshallah. Okay. So now the next thing, as I load up Slido, the next thing that we want to talk about, I think I have to do the admin account, right? Yeah. Okay, no problem. So the next thing we want to discuss is the actual keto diet itself, right? I'm sure many of you have heard about it. You've heard some good things, some bad things, misconceptions. So let's talk about that a little bit. So keto, short for ketogenic, right? A ketogenic lifestyle. In a nutshell, again, I don't want to overwhelm you with too much information, right? I want to try to get into some more practical things. A ketogenic lifestyle is basically where somebody decides to limit or reduce and restrict the amount of carbs that they eat, the carbohydrates, so that they can switch their body's main fuel source from carbohydrates, meaning from glucose, over to ketones. And when you replace carbs with fats, or proteins in some cases, but normally fats, then your body will start shifting and say, hey, there's no more carbs there. Carbs usually get broken down into glucose, and that becomes your energy source. The body says, hey, there's no more glucose, there's no more carbs to break down. Let's look for something else. It looks for fat, and it starts to break that down. So your body uses fat as its fuel source. That's the basic thing. And it's your liver that ends up producing these ketones, right? These specific ketone bodies, which end up getting used as an energy source. So that's why it's called keto or ketosis, ketogenic diet, things like that. So some benefits and general uses. A lot of people do it, as you've heard, for weight loss. That's not our main objective over here, but yeah, people have used it. In the beginning, you end up losing a lot of water weight. As you guys probably know, I don't obviously need that loss, so I didn't do it for that reason. Bodybuilders will also use a keto diet because it'll help them put on pure muscle without adding on a lot of fat. So it's called keto bulking. So they do that. You've got, oh, sorry, I'm getting comments already coming in. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm shifting around on all this. Okay. So yeah, even bodybuilders will use that to do a keto bulk where they'll put on muscle without putting on any fat. Many doctors, this is not something new. This has been something known, but in the medical industry, it's been known, especially for those who either wanted to improve cognition or cognitive functions, for a boost in energy, boost in focus and awareness. And some doctors have even recommended it to Alzheimer's patients, to those who suffer from epilepsy or have seizures or episodes like that. And there's reasons for that. Again, I don't want to go through all the medical stuff. You can ask your doctor or nutritionist, and they can explain those things to you. The other doctors will recommend it for those who have diabetes, because ketosis or a ketogenic diet has been shown to stabilize and lower blood sugar, overall blood sugar, and to lower insulin levels. And that seems to be one of our major comments. All right, so I'm getting comments here. Okay, there we go. So now somebody's showing it. Let me quickly, I think I'll have to, let's do it like this. I'll have to jump back and forth on Slido now on this one. Where's Slido? So yeah, as you can see on the screen, you can go HIC. Yeah, I just forgot I have to log into the admin account to approve questions. Okay, so I'll keep checking back every once in a while. Nothing yet. All right. So yeah, slido.com, HICORL is the code, as usual, for all our Q&A, and then we'll take questions as they come. So yeah, some doctors have been recommending it for diabetes patients, again, because it stabilizes blood sugar and lowers insulin levels. And then others, many doctors, are just recommending it for overall health. And there's a few reasons why. Many of them say, look, because most of us have extremely unhealthy dietary habits, we've been eating so much garbage, it requires an extreme response. Because some people, they say, oh, Hasan, why can't we just have normal food? What is all this, extreme stuff? We should be moderate and this and that. So look, if we were being moderate or a little bit less, plus or minus a little bit before, then yeah, maybe you can make small changes and it's not a big deal. But for a lot of us, if we've been eating the standard American diet for all of our lives, then we need an extreme response to put our bodies back in equilibrium. So sometimes that means doing something like keto or paleo or a carnivore diet or whole plant diet, or Whole30. There's a lot of different variations, maybe even vegan or vegetarian, depending on what you need. Everybody's body is different, right? Physiologically, we're all different. So not every single thing is going to work the same for everybody. So it's not like I'm here to say everybody needs to do keto, but for almost everybody that I know, they've tried it out, even for a short time, 6 to 8 weeks, some of them, right? Just like a month or two. And they've noticed a huge change, and they've gone through something called fat adaptation, basically, where their body, what ends up happening is this. You see, when we're talking about overall health, we need to look at some of the major issues that people have. Yesterday I was speaking with an uncle, and we were talking about overall health. And we were mentioning things about the oils that go into our food. And, so I was talking about ghee. I said, ghee used to be something we all used back home, and nobody uses it nowadays. Everybody's using, like margarine or all these other kind of terrible oils, like vegetable oil, canola oil, peanut oil, terrible oils, right? And we'll talk a little bit about that later. All of these oils and all the other kind of horrible foods that we eat, all are what we call inflammatory agents. They cause us to become inflamed, right? Our body to become inflamed. Now, inflammation, as many of you know, it's a huge, huge problem. It's probably the major problem for most individuals, but most people don't catch it. So this uncle was saying, when he heard me say the word ghee, he came, he stopped, he said, you know what, let me tell you what my doctor told me. He was having, some joint issues and this and that. Nothing was working out. His doctor asked him, non-Muslim doctor, asked him, what are you eating? He gave him his list of food. He's like, no. What are you cooking your food in? He said, cook it in blah, 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 canola oil, vegetable oil. He said, no. All those are inflammatory agents. Do not have those oils. They're messing with your body. Instead, do something which is, an essential healthy fat. It's like what? It's like ghee, clarified butter. So this uncle switched to that, and almost immediately his problems went away. So these small little changes can be big thing, have a huge, huge impact. And inflammation, for those of you who, I'm just going to give you a simple quote from one medical website. So what is inflammation? It's the body's process of fighting against things that harm it, such as infections, injuries, toxins, in an attempt to heal itself. When something damages your cells, your body releases chemicals that trigger a response from your immune system. So generally speaking, inflammation is a good thing. It's a response when our body's, under duress, under stress. The problem is that the foods we're eating all the time, morning, then our snack, then lunch, then a snack, then dinner, snack, everything that we're doing, they're all inflammatory. So our body is constantly inflamed, meaning it's constantly in this overly stressed out situation. So that's why now, tied to everything else, why are we having all these mental health issues? Probably because of inflammation, as many doctors are saying. Why are we getting all these other sort of bodily issues, skin issues, you name it? Almost every single doctor leads it back to inflammation. And some narrations actually allude to this point too. They talk about the idea of all issues of a human being in terms of their health issues go back to the stomach. So some have interpreted it to say that it goes back to your gut biome and the inflammation that can start there, for example, or maybe in other places. But again, all the medical stuff, I don't want to get too much into depth there. The idea is once a person goes this extreme, let's say they try keto, they cut out carbs extremely and they do only, they do healthy fats and proteins and vegetables and things like that. When they do that, after even a month or 2 months, what ends up happening is your body then starts working like a hybrid car. You can use electric as a fuel source. You can use regular gas as a fuel source. You can use whatever it is. Even for me, I've been doing keto for I don't know how many years now. So in the beginning, it was a little rough, but I made incremental changes. And when I would stop it, I would feel the difference. Now, because I've been doing it for so long, my body knows how to use fats. And I slowly reintroduced carbs over the past few years. So now my body says, okay, we know how to use fats. We remember carbs from a little while ago too. We can use that too. So now my body knows how to use fats as an energy source and knows how to use carbs as a fuel source and protein, anything, because I've been doing that. So even if I quote unquote cheat, normally I prefer having fats and proteins, but even if I do have some carbs, healthy carbs, good carbs, I won't feel that same sort of sluggishness and lack of focus and all the problems that I think everybody knows that they face when they have these heavily carby meals. I don't have that anymore, alhamdulillah. So after maybe doing a month and a half or 2 months of this, then you may be able to say, okay, now my body's ready to use all fuel sources. So this is a good thing just to even experiment with. Last thing I want to mention before we jump into the recipes is, let me check actually if there's any questions. No, nothing yet. Okay. Last thing then is, what are some misconceptions about this? Some people think right away, higher fat, if you eat all these fats, you're going to get fat, right? Cholesterol, fatty liver disease, all these kind of things. Again, I'm not here to tell you about high cholesterol and the misconceptions about, LDL, HDL, all that stuff, heart attacks and all these things. It's almost a consensus now in the medical and nutritional community that all of this stuff about low fat was debunked. It was nonsense. What they found out, it wasn't the fats that were the problem. It was the kinds of fats that people were eating. These trans fats, for example, right? Or certain types of fats that were being consumed. It was combining fats with carbs at the same time, because if your body's using carbs as its main source and you have fats at the same time, so take pizza. If you have pizza, obviously the bread is a carb. You have a bunch of cheese on top, so that is a fat. So now your body takes, it sees the bread coming in. Like, okay, it's a carb. We break it down into glucose. That's our fuel. We're good to go. But then it sees this other stuff, fat. So, well, we don't know what to do with this. We already have fuel. What do? We store it. And then you start to store that as fat. So the mixing of carbs and fats is also a huge, huge issue as well. And that's why you'll find even people who don't do keto, who still try to live a healthy lifestyle, they never mix carbs and fats. It's either carbs and proteins or fats and proteins. That's how they mix their food. Because generally speaking, all of our our body needs everything, but it doesn't need a lot of extra carbs necessarily, right? We can get it from a lot of other places as well, especially vegetables. So that's the next misconception, is that people think that if you're keto, you're just gonna, have a bunch of cheese and heavy cream and, beef all day, right? It's just meats and proteins. No, meats and dairy. That's not the case as well. There's a heavy, heavy emphasis on making sure you get healthy vegetables in. I mean, just this afternoon, I had some Brussels sprouts, which were absolutely delicious, which if you told me that 10 years ago that I'd be eating Brussels sprouts, I'd have been like, you're crazy. But broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, I love them because I can make them, taste really nice. Now, I don't think I have any recipes for you today, but there are a lot of different things to eat. There's wonderful recipes and cookbooks that are out there. There's even specific Desi keto channels on YouTube, right? So Desi keto cooks who will do everything, like keto naan. You can find a recipe for that. Keto, what else have I seen? Keto samosa, like things like that. Everything exists. Now, is it going to taste exactly the same? No, of course it's not. For me, a lot of the things I found, they do taste better. So now I want to go through some examples, inshallah, that I usually do. It's part of my sort of normal routine, and I enjoy it. I'm a big foodie. I love my food, but it's got to be, good tasting as well. Okay, let's check. Oh, so we do have one. Okay. Let me see the first question. Is it coming through? 1 second. Okay, this is part of the live, right? Okay, there we go. So one of the drawbacks of the keto diet is there's a huge initial weight loss, but not sustainable. Often people make the keto diet a high protein diet, excess meat, and studies suggest high protein diets increase mortality associated with higher rates of atrial. Is it atrial? Yeah, atrial fibrillation, right? Thoughts? Well, I'm not a doctor, so I can't give you my thoughts on that. But as I said, there are different, as I think I just mentioned too. Generally, most people who do keto, they don't actually have lots of meat. There's, keto vegans, keto vegetarians. So the bulk of the stuff that you're getting is not going to come from animal proteins in that sense. Some people do high protein, but actually most people do high fat. And a lot of people just modulate between the two. Again, it depends. Are you a bodybuilder? Are you just doing it for health reasons? So all of these things have been, looked at. Again, I'm not going to get involved in the medical studies. You're welcome to talk to your own doctor or nutritionist about that stuff. But a lot of these sort of negatives about the keto diet, usually when they, at least the studies that I've looked at and the nutritionists that I follow, the doctors that I follow, when they look at all of these same studies that was quoted here by the questioner, they go through the issues in those studies, saying that these people were not following what's called the clean keto diet. They were basically just eating a bunch of fats without getting in all the other essential nutrients that they need as well. So there's different versions. And again, I don't want to overwhelm you with all the stuff. I want to try to get to some, food. But yeah, there are bad ways of doing keto and there's good ways of doing keto. And the same way, if somebody wants to do vegan, they can go have an Impossible Burger every day. That's not healthy. Just because it's vegan doesn't mean it's healthy. Just because you're vegetarian doesn't mean you're healthy. Having good tayyib food means that you have to get a certain amount of nutrients in. You have to have, certain types of variety. A keto, again, the ketogenic thing is a good way to combat the extremism that we've had with our diets for, most of our lives. That's it. Okay. And that's what you were telling me before. There was a question, right? Okay, yeah. All right. Any more questions, please, feel free to comment and add. So thank you very much for that. All right. I think it's time to, enough talking. Let's get to some recipes. Okay. Yeah, let me do one recipe and then because I don't want to go on and on. All right. Now, I don't know how you start your mornings. A lot of you will probably do chai. Yeah, I enjoy my chai definitely from time to time. I'm much more of a coffee person. And coffee, yeah, you can do your normal sort of hot brewing there. I don't like hot brew coffee. I prefer cold brew. So cold brew I actually make myself. I have some brewing right now. So I had some, I think I ran out actually. Did I? Let me see. There we go. Yeah. So usually I end up making cold brew. It's like a leftover container. So this is our own custom-made cold brew over here. Just enough left for today. I really wanted to drink this before the session, but I was like, I have to save it for what's going on now. So You just get, so the reason cold brew is better is it's lower acidity. And you know, sometimes people don't like coffee because of that, the bitterness that comes with it. With cold brew, you don't have that same bitterness, right? So, and if anybody's too lazy to make their own cold brew, then maybe I'll start my own thing on a Orlando catering group. I'll start selling it for, you know, a nice nominal fee. And of course, for all of our family in Magnolia, free delivery, right? Okay, so let's make a nice little smoothie. Okay. All right, so of course, first, let's get our cold brew. Yeah, let's just finish it all. Normally, I don't like having caffeine this late, 5:30, but I mean, there is a session happening a little bit later, so might as well. Okay, so there's our cold brew. So I'm using this, whatever, I don't have to advertise for them, but thank you to Johnny's for the magic bullet. So I've got that much. Because cold brew is a little bit stronger, I don't need to use too much as well. So I've got that. Now what can we do? All right, so now this is the first thing. Some people like their black coffee. That's wonderful if you can do that. I mean, this is actually pretty, all right. Yeah, for me, it's good enough to drink by itself, but I like sweet stuff, right? And I think that's where most of us get tripped up, in sweeteners. So here's where most of you would dump in white sugar, which we know there's nobody who's going to tell you white sugar is good. Some people might say brown sugar. Brown sugar is not good as well. They might say, okay, organic cane sugar. All these things are all the same exact problems of raising blood sugar, insulin response, inflammation. The same problems are going to happen. So what we do on a keto diet is that we use different alternative sweeteners. And the sweeteners we use either cause a small insulin response or blood sugar raise, or pretty much nothing. And some of them actually lower your blood sugar. Now, I'll be honest, it's not going to taste like sugar, but most people that I've, you know, when I've brewed coffee, I've made like my kind of coffee smoothies or whatever for them. A lot of them couldn't tell the difference. Like they had no idea that there was artificial sweeteners in there. Now, again, when we're saying artificial, let me tell you, let's select some of them. So over here, I have stevia. This is stevia. This is like the most famous one, right? So this is 100% stevia powder. This is one you're going to hear about all the time. Stevia is from a plant, right? It's a leaf. So they're grinding it up and taking it from there. They boil it, right? In the same way, nobody just picks sugar and then just puts it in a thing, right? So the way sugar is natural, well, stevia would be as well. This has pretty much been the go-to. It's been around for a while. It took a while to get FDA approved, but now they've said, yeah, it's good to go. It's they haven't seen any negative ramifications yet. Some people it can be sensitive on their stomachs. You'll have to experiment and see. So I get this 100% stevia powder. So again, it says here it's 0 calorie, right? No carbs, 0 sugar option. And the interesting thing here is when you get the pure powder, because in stores they sell the mixed versions, which I'll talk about too. I get the pure ones that have nothing else added to it, because sometimes these companies now, they know that people want to live a healthy life, so they start adding a bunch of trash and garbage there. So pure powders are usually the better one, right? And so this powder I've had for months, right? It's a small, this is a 4-ounce package. But over here, as you can see from the amounts, if you want the equivalent of 1 teaspoon of sugar, you only need 1/32 teaspoon of this pure stevia. That's it. If you need a lot, let's say you need a tablespoon of sugar, all you need is 1/8 of a teaspoon of this. And then cup of sugar, 2 teaspoons. This is how powerful and how sweet it actually is, right? So that's one option is stevia. So for this, I usually end up just throwing it in one of these tiny little containers. So I'm going to add that in. So I just, let me show it over here. So I usually just sprinkle a tiny bit, right? I mean, I like my stuff sweet, but as you can see, I sprinkled barely anything in there. That's it. So I'm going to add a little bit of stevia. Next is a lot of community members' favorite. This is monk fruit. So monk fruit's another one. It's from a fruit, right? It's coming from a fruit. Same thing. 0 carb, no calorie, causes pretty much no insulin response or raising in blood sugar. And you can see the serving size as well, right? So 1 scoop, it says 0.31 grams, right? Which again is about 1/8 of it, or 1/32 of a teaspoon. And you say that 1 scoop is about 1 teaspoon of sugar. So same thing, almost the same thing as that stevia. So same thing. I usually put them in these separate containers here to make it easier. Let me show you the spoon that comes with these packages. This is how big the spoon is, right? It's nothing. Now you're like, okay, I don't know what that means. I need comparison. All right, fine. Let me compare for you. Let me get another spoon. Okay. So this is obviously, got it? So we got tablespoon, That's the comparative difference. Oh, that's really bright, right? All right, let's go to, where's a teaspoon? Yeah, so this is teaspoon. That's the difference in size. And you have quarter. So this is a quarter teaspoon, and this is the amount that you would need. Look at the difference. It's an eighth of a teaspoon. It's nothing. Or I think this might be a 32nd. Oops, I forgot. So I'm going to use this one, right? Again, here's the comparison for size. You need a very, very small amount. Let me get my monk fruit. So I throw all the powder in here, and this lasts for months and months and months. So I'm going to take maybe that much, right? So not even the whole thing, because I'm using other sweeteners as well. So I take a tiny little amount, add that in. Okay. And there we go. So there's our monk fruit. Now the final one I'm going to add is called allulose. So I don't have a bag for that one. We threw the bag out, but that's something new that we've just researched. A lot of nutritionists are recommending it. Apparently, allulose has a good effect on your gut microbe, on the biome, and it apparently lowers blood sugar as well. So because of that, so this one I use a little bit more of because it's a little bit less sweet than sugar. So just again, because I've added everything else, I'm only going to use, I have like a random scoop that I have here. So I'll use maybe like a half a teaspoon or something, right? Not much. So get it. Again, for me, combining all these different sweeteners, I enjoy all of them. They all have their kind of distinct taste, so I enjoy all of them. So you can experiment and see what you like. If you like stevia, monk fruit, allulose, you want to test them out, come by our place or tell me, I'll bring it to the center or whatever tonight if you want. That's it. Okay. So now that's pretty much it sweetened. So let me blend it just this and let's see how it tastes before we actually make our smoothie. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yeah. See, this would be good enough for me to drink by itself. It's really nice. I don't know. You want to try? No caffeine for you. Okay. But obviously you want to be a little exotic, right? This is too plain. I want something fancy. Okay, fine. So I'll show you what I normally add every morning. So I usually add a little bit of nutmeg, just a pinch. It's a nice little, I don't know, it gives it a nice flavor. Not too much. A little bit of organic cinnamon. Now, Ceylon cinnamon is usually better, but beggars can't be choosers sometimes. So I'm just going to add in a little bit of cinnamon. And cinnamon also has been shown to help with blood sugar as well, to lower it. I like adding in a little bit of Himalayan pink salt as well. And even if it's another hack for you too, if you like your coffee hot, but you want to help reduce the acidity and that bitter taste, brew it with a little bit of salt in the, whatever you brew it with, like in the filter. Or when you add it in, just add the salt into it. It'll take away some of the bitterness. And now, here's the special key ingredient, the secret that I learned from a keto nutritionist. This is black cocoa powder. Not regular, but black cocoa powder. Black cocoa powder, all the bakers who watch, I know there's obviously a bunch of bakers in the community. Black cocoa powder is basically what gives things the, these lights are too bright, right? Yeah, okay. You're gonna shut off one, I think you can get the switch back there, yeah. There's too many lights going on here. I think that might work. Yeah, okay, so it's black cocoa powder. So yeah, bakers will use this to give it a cookie flavor, a cookies and cream or Oreo flavor. So without having to add in all these garbage ingredients, you can take this nice black cocoa, which interestingly enough has compared to other cocoa, has a higher magnesium content, which we need. And it also has, what else? Higher protein content too. All right, so I like my cookies and cream coffee really, really cookie-ish. Cookie cream, I don't know what the word, Oreo-ish. So I'm gonna use a teaspoon, full teaspoon, okay? There we go. Okay, so I think that's everything, yeah. All right, sorry. I prefer to clean as I go. All right. Okay, so I think that's all we need. Now let's blend this up. Okay. So it looks like this dark color, right? You can tell, yeah, really dark color. Oh man, I keep shifting around. Yeah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Oh, that's good. But of course, I like my creamer too. So I'm going to use some, I got this from Trader Joe's. It's organic heavy whipping cream. Oh man, that light is really not helping, huh? I don't know, maybe you can shut off the other one too. I didn't realize it was going to be so bright. All right, so I'm just going to add in this organic heavy whipping cream. Let's see if my latte art comes out nicely. Hold on. Yeah, look at that latte art. Isn't that beautiful? It's the shocked face. All right, now let's put on my lid. And let's see. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Oh, man. Oh. Now, you can go to Starbucks and get an Oreo milkshake or Oreo coffee or latte, whatever. You go to Dunkin' Donuts. It's going to be filled with garbage. None of this is going to raise your blood sugar. Oh, okay, there is some heavy cream in there. So, yeah, there's some calories and stuff. But you don't have any of that added sugar there, right? All this stuff is nice, clean ingredients. I have this multiple times a day, this kind of coffee, right? Now, the other thing too is, which I don't have ready right now, but you can add in almond milk, coconut milk, and usually I'll throw those in too, especially in the morning if I want my fat content to be a little higher. But sorry, gotta have a little bit more. Oh, it's good. Okay. And then of course, this one is just enough, you know, it's sweet enough for me, but I could have made it a little sweeter if I wanted to, but I think that's good enough for now. Okay. Now let's see if we've got any, nope, no questions. Okay, people are just they want to watch me drink this, that's all. Okay. All right. I'm enjoying that. Sorry. Okay. So you can do the same thing with chai now too, right? If let's say, oh, Hasan, I don't like coffee. Okay, fine. You don't have to cry about it. You can make your chai too, right? In your patili, in your pot, you just boil whatever you do as normal. The difference is that instead of using regular dairy, so don't use evaporated, condensed, or any of that stuff, use something else. So either go with almond milk, again, making sure it's unsweetened, because everything in the store, right, you can get sweetened or unsweetened. Unsweetened almond milk or unsweetened coconut milk. Normally, I used to buy the containers from Aldi or the cans of coconut milk from Aldi or Walmart, wherever. I don't do that anymore. Recently, I've been making my own coconut milk. Maybe if we have time later, I'll show you exactly what I do for that. I mean, fairly simple, but if I have time, I'll do that and I'll add it into that coffee. So yeah, same thing. You boil your water with a tea bag or however you boil your chai, and then add in almond milk or coconut milk. And if you boil it like that, then do it like that. And then just use any of these sweeteners. Same thing. Now, yeah, the taste will be slightly different because you don't have the heavy condensed or evaporated milk, but it's a pretty good alternative. And my wife and I, that's what we end up drinking. We've made it for other people and they've enjoyed it as well. If the almond milk and the coconut milk is not your thing, I mean, I'd say try it out once, but if it's not your thing, no problem. The major takeaway, I think, from this is to at least try to switch sweeteners, to get away from sugar, to get away from or cane, brown, all that stuff. Now, somebody may say, oh, what about honey? Honey is great, or maple syrup. Now, relatively, they're good. The problem is that they still have their own issues as well. They're still going to cause, blood sugar, insulin responses. These things, at least in the interim, when you're trying to reset your body, get it back to normal or to raise its spiritual level up, I would humbly advise to try to keep away from honey and maple syrup and even those quote unquote natural ones. Try these instead, right? Erythritol is another option that maybe we'll talk about when we get to the baking portion. Okay, let's see. No comments. Okay, let's keep going then. All right, so that's a morning drink. Now, you might ask, okay, what do I do for breakfast? For breakfast, I'm not going to make breakfast now, but I usually do eggs. Eggs, I usually do pasture raised. All the other stuff that you'll see, free range and organic and all that, brown, none of that means anything. Pasture raised is when the chickens, they're free to roam around and they have whatever's there. Most of the eggs that we have, you can tell. And if anybody's seen a pasture raised egg yolk versus a regular egg yolk, you see a clear difference. Pasture raised, you see a nice orange color. Other types of eggs, it's this like yellow, pale color, right? So pasture raised if you can. It's slightly more expensive, but again, if you want to be healthier, you're going to have to spend a little bit more. And we have from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because many of you may be asking too, oh, I have to buy all this extra stuff. It's going to be more money and this and that. Well, maybe, but there is no israf when it comes to, as Rasulullah says, there's no israf when it comes to our body. There's no israf when it comes to our health and security. We have to maintain and take care of that. And I know many of you, you're going to buy expensive clothes. You buy technology, you buy fancy cars and houses. Wonderful. That's great. Keep doing that. You should be doing the same thing for your food too. Buy the expensive, good stuff, right? And don't get tricked by the kind of fake organic movement as well. Okay. All right, so that was one thing we made. Now what else can we do? So I went through some of the sweeteners. Some things also to keep in mind is when you're going for the sweeteners, there's a few that many of you may be looking at. Let's say you buy diet soda. The sweeteners you definitely don't want are aspartame, maltodextrin, and dextrose, and even sucralose, but that one's okay to some degree. Aspartame is what they put in diet sodas. Aspartame has been shown to just completely destroy the body. That's also something you don't want to do. The ones that I've mentioned, and there's a few others, those are the ones that are going to be much better off. Aspartame, according to some studies, is even worse than regular sugar. So, that's definitely not advised. Okay, so we did that. Now, what do we want to do? We did like a coffee chai thing. Okay, we can do snacks or we can do desserts. Okay, let's start with a dessert because I know that's what people would like to. And then after the dessert, then maybe we can, if we have time, we'll do a snack mix. All right. So as far as desserts are concerned, now I'm not the baker in the family. My wife is, so she's kind of got everything ready for us. I'll basically just show you the stuff and then we'll see what we get from it. Okay, get that out of the way. All right. So most of you, I'm sure, bake cookies at home or you go out and buy the store-bought ones. Anything you buy in the store, we know, no good, right? Anything that you buy outside is going to be bad. You can make some simple, a nice cookie dough recipe at home. So what do we have here? Let's see. All right. So let's take let's go through all the ingredients and then we'll talk about what we have. So dry ingredients, we have, for the sweetener, it's a 1/3 cup of powdered swerve. Swerve is something you can find at Walmart or pretty much any store. It's basically, it uses this artificial sweetener or sugar alcohol called erythritol. Again, some people use it. It's okay on their stomach. We've switched to allulose. I like that better. But again, you can try different alternative sugars. But that's what we have over here. Then there's a 1/3 cup of brown swerve, right? Again, you can either make it yourself or they have brown swerve for sale at the stores. So again, a 1/3 cup of that. What else do we have for our dry? Now, what are we going to do about flour? Well, for flour, okay, if this comes off and I don't spill it everywhere. There we go. So over here, because we can't use regular flour, obviously, right? So we're using 1 1/4 cup of almond flour. So let's start getting our dry ingredients inside, actually. All right. So the first is going to be our 1 1/4 cup almond flour. Okay. Now let's do our 1/3 cup powdered swerve. And a 1/3 cup of this brown swerve. So that's all. Oh, didn't come out. There we go. So that's all our dry ingredients. Dry first, mix that. And one of the best things is normally with other flour and sugars when you mix, this is what my wife told me, I didn't know this, but when you use regular flour, then you end up having to whisk it because the stuff doesn't mix very well. With this, because of the nature of almond flour, the mixing and whisking is not a huge deal. So you can just use a regular spatula and you should be okay, right? Okay, let me do it off properly. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we got our dry ingredients ready. Now, what about wet ingredients? So we did that. Let's go through all of our dry. Yeah, we're done there. Okay, so over here we've got 5 tablespoons of softened butter. Let's dump that in. And then we got 1 egg. Okay. Towels here. Paper towel's not here. Let me wash my hands over this. See, this is what happens when you've never done a video like this before and you haven't prepped. All right. Okay. So there we go. Now I'm just going to mix these together. Let's get this out of the way. So, of course, you should have been preheating your oven to... Oh, you know what? I just realized I forgot a dry ingredient. What do I need? I forgot 1 liquid, 1 dry. It was over here on the side. All right. So one was 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Let me dump that in now. See, this is what I mean. I'm not the baker. This is what happens. 1 teaspoon vanilla extract. So this is the imitation vanilla one. I prefer that. Okay. And then we've got ½ teaspoon of baking soda. Yeah, that's the dry one that I forgot. That's all right. Okay, now I'll mix it. So yeah, as I was saying, you're going to be baking this at 325 for 8 to 12 minutes. So what you can get from this in terms of what it'll output, I believe it'll give you about, was it 12 cookies, I think? 12 like normal size cookies, where as you can see, it's already getting doughy there, right? There's our cookie dough coming out. Yeah. Or if you prefer, like our kids do, cookies are nice once in a while. And in fact, we had some cookies this morning. I was going to show them to you, but the kids all ate them. So you can also use this and just put it in one of these kind of pans and have you have your cookie cakes basically, right? So you just lay it down over here. Yeah. Lay it down nicely in here. Okay, it's not going to be beautiful, but whatever. And of course, you're going to need your chocolate chips too, right? So you can either add it in the dough or you add it separately on top. Now, you might be saying, okay, what about chocolate chips? What am I going to do for that? Well, a lot of companies now make keto chocolate chips. These you can get at Walmart. These are from Bake Believe. So again, no sugar added, 55% cacao. And we prefer the dark chocolate flavor, but they have different flavors. So you can check in the back here, right? Chocolate liquor, which halal for all the fiqh people watching, that's okay, don't worry. Inulin, erythritol, these are the two sweeteners they use. Cocoa butter, sunflower lecithin, vanilla extract, and stevia, right? So they have 3 different styles of sweeteners over here. And as you can see, if we're going down for those who do the carb count stuff, so 1 tablespoon of these. For those who do keto, this is how you actually calculate your carbs. You take the total, which is 9. You go by the fibers. Okay, there's 5, so you subtract that. 9 minus 5 is 4. If there's any sugar alcohols like erythritol, you subtract. So 9 minus 5 was 4. 4 minus 3 is 1. So in 1 tablespoon, there's 1 carb. So when you do this whole subtraction method, that's called getting your net carbs. So, and I mean, these things are awesome by themselves, actually. These are my god. But I'm not going to measure. I'm just going to dump them in because who doesn't like chocolate? I'll dump some in there and dump some in there. Yeah, it looks beautiful, right? It looks terrible, but whatever. So yeah, this you can find at Walmart, get them online, whatever you prefer. Okay. Now, so I have to put this in for 8 to 12 minutes. Do we have 8 to 12 minutes for them to get ready? No. So I'm going to have to use my Irfani powers. So let me put it in, right? And then I'll have to do kun fayakun. Oh, look at that. It's ready. It's ready. Amazing. How did that happen? All right, let's test it out. So obviously my wife prepared this ahead of time, right? So now we're going to give this a shot. Okay. So you can make this softer version, harder version, depends on what you like, right? So Ali, you have the first test. No? You're not eating? Okay, I'll eat. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Oh. That was good. And luckily my wife made some cheesecake, chocolate cheesecake frosting to go on top. Now, I'm trying to think what I want to do. I don't think I'm going to have time to spread it. So maybe I'll just get a little lazy. Take this frosting, dump it on there. I know my wife's watching like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? It's okay. Let me just eat a little bit of this. That was amazing. I don't know why you have to eat all this garbage food when you have all this nice clean food. Here, hold on. Yeah. We've made, or not we, my wife has made all these desserts for plenty of people. They have no idea that they're keto or these different sort of sweeteners. So yeah, almond flour, that's something that you can use to substitute for regular flour because regular flour is a carb. You can't have that, right? You can use coconut flour. There's all these different options. But again, I didn't want to overwhelm you with so many different types of things. But this was just one way that you can make a nice little cookie base, make a cookie cake, or just make regular cookies, whatever, right? Okay. So I think, so we got, yeah, we're hitting 6 o'clock. Let me just get to these questions and then I think we're going to be done for today. All right. Okay, so these are live. I'm going to put them on the screen. Oops, I think I deleted one question. Okay, Okay, yeah. So one question is salams. Alaikum salams. Why do you prefer imitation vanilla? I'm trying to think. Is it cheaper? I can't remember if it was cheaper. I don't know. Regular vanilla is fine. I don't mean, according to Al Sistani, you have a little bit. It's not a big deal. So there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want to get into all the fiqh stuff, but for followers of Ayatul Sistani, there's no problem with vanilla extract. Now, you can't just drink it, but because you're adding such a little amount, usually it's just like a drop or two, it's not a big deal. So that was that. Okay. And there's one other one too. And I got to look in the archive where it went because I got rid of it. Oh, is it a good idea for kids to eat a keto diet? Again, I'm not a doctor, not a nutritionist, none of these. I can't tell you that it's a good idea. Our kids, they're not keto, but they are low carb. I'll put it that way. And so far for them, it's worked. So right now, Hamida's not here, but both her, Hamida and Alia, they know how to check labels right now. And that's one thing that we didn't have time to go through, which I think maybe I'll end with that. Oh, okay, there is another question. Yeah. So one of the other things now, which is really important, is to learn how to read labels because people can easily get tricked. So I went quickly through the one about chocolate. There's one other thing I have to show you, actually. Maybe that'll help out. And this is in terms of the oils, right? So sweeteners is one way that we can replace things. But the other thing we have to start talking about is what sort of oils do we need to do? And I'll just quickly end with that. So the oils that we always keep in our pantry, the ones that are good to go with. So we do, this is organic extra virgin olive oil. Again, this stuff, either Aldi, Walmart, places like that, that's where you get it, right? So this is a good oil. We usually drizzle this. You can use it for cooking, but it's not the best. The best one for cooking would be avocado oil. Oh, weird delay. Sorry, I don't know why the lighting's like that. Really strange. Okay. Yeah, so this is 100% pure avocado oil. It's got a high smoke point, so this is one of the better oils to use. Of course, especially when I make my eggs in the morning, I like using ghee, right? So again, you can get it at the Desi grocery store. You can buy it at Aldi, Walmart, wherever, right? So this is also really good too. Another good fat. And of course, there's coconut oil, but make sure that it's unrefined, right? So this is the coconut oil. These are the oils that we end up using. Now, there's one thing that I have to show you that does happen, right? Because some people might say, okay, look, you did some dessert stuff. I need some savory stuff. So I was going to make a snack mix. I didn't have time. So now I'm going to have to quickly show you. Let me put this down and grab it before we end. I'll be right back. Okay. Should have had these ready before, but I didn't know if we were going to get to it. Now, most of you love your chips and things like that, right? So you go to a grocery store, you're thinking, oh, I'm going to buy all these, wonderful healthy chips. Like, okay. Like, for example, a lot of you like yuca and cassava. Like, oh, so I'm not going to get regular fried potato, whatever. I'll get the healthy stuff. Like, okay, fine. Sounds nice. The problem is once you go back and see the oils that they cook it with. If you can you get it on or no? Let's see. It's not focusing. No. Yeah, this camera stinks. All right, I'll know next time use a better camera. I don't know why it's not focusing properly. Anyway, so if you can't read it, but so cassava is the first thing, which is good, but then it's made with vegetable oil, cottonseed oil, canola oil, corn oil. This stuff is going to lead to inflammation, right? Because they're high in omega-6s. Omega-6s are fine. The problem is we have too many of them, right? And that ends up ruining our system. We need more omega-3s in our system. Same thing. These are another family fairy, these taquitos. Same thing, right? Even though this is corn, you see the second ingredient, vegetable oil, sunflower oil, safflower, canola. All of these types of oils are so heavy in omega-6s, they're going to lead to inflammation. Now, you have other things. So this we just found actually at a store yesterday. So this is from this company called Saiyid. These are grain-free tortilla chips. They're dairy-free as well. So they have cassava, but they also have avocado. They're made in avocado oil. They use coconut flour, red chili powder, nutritional yeast, coconut milk powder, beet powder, sea salt, chia seed, tomato powder, jalapeno powder, citric acid, lactic acid, garlic powder, onion powder, habanero powder, and also it says coconut. So I just found this out yesterday. And these, no, you like spicy chips? And these are really good. So there's a way of having healthy carbs too with snacks like that. And I have a whole bunch of other flavors that I got. So the options are there. But the things that we have to, I'm trying to summarize now, I'm So where'd my coffee go? There it is. Yeah. The two major important things right now, forgetting the keto high fat stuff, is if we can change two things about our habits. Firstly, by looking at the labels of the stuff that we actually buy, and then changing our habits of how we cook. Number one, we said, is sweeteners. Cut out the sugars, all of them, even honey and maple syrup. There, try cutting that out or at least not using so much. Try these other ones we mentioned. And again, if you don't know, again, they have small packets other places. Just be careful. It's better to get the pure ones. And if you want to try it, email me, let me know, and I can make something for you, or I can give you a small sample so you can try it yourself, right? But anybody else that we've given it to, they either can't tell the difference, or the difference is so insignificant that they say, you know what, why wouldn't I switch to something healthy like that? So sweeteners definitely would be a good option to number one change. The second is oils. So even if you, let's say, you know what, I can't leave carbs, fine. Make sure you try to switch to either almond flour, coconut flour, and then for the oils, stick to the healthy oils that we talked about. Extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, ghee, coconut oil. When you get rid of the other things like canola and vegetable, corn, all those things, which again, GMOs are present in there, they're laced with chemicals. These are all the things, when you combine them together, are gonna ruin our body, which of course by extension ruins our mind and ruins our soul. So, because now we are, 7 minutes over time, so I want to wrap up. Oh, now all the questions come, right? Oh no, this was the archive. I don't know where can we have the recipe for the chocolate cheesecake frosting? Yes. Where's my phone? I don't know if my wife sent that to me or not. No, you'll have to wait for another session. Sorry, I didn't get the recipe for that. It's fairly simple. I think it's just, email, right? alim at orlandocenter.org. Because, he's right, because I thought everybody knew it, but then a year later, everybody's like, well, we don't know how to contact you. Like, well, you can come to the center, you can talk to me, you can come tonight to the CBE session, whatever. Anyway, so email and we can get the recipe, or just easiest thing is message my wife. That's probably the easiest. And I'm not going to share her number on this. What else do we have? How do you suggest as a center we can make healthy changes? Probably not going to happen, because most people, I don't know how many people are tuning in. You start yourself, start with your family when you can, and then you can start making changes community-wide in that sense. Let's not think of everybody making the change. If you can do it yourself and you can start, if caterers and bakers and people who actually are known in the community to do all this stuff, if you start making those changes and showing people, look, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, obviously, maybe we'll cut down the portion sizes, whatever, but we can make, let's say, keto, healthier samosas. Even if you want to use regular flour, fine. At least just try cooking it or frying it in something different. Small little changes, I think incrementally, they'll have a big effect. I think that might be helpful. If we can start showing, we find out for ourselves and we start showing everybody else that you can make healthy lifestyle changes, and they actually taste good. These things are amazing. Every single one. If it tasted bad, I wouldn't eat them. Trust me. I'm still a foodie. If they tasted bad, I wouldn't eat them. So all of these dessert recipes that I do, again, coffee, the cold brew, the smoothies that I make, and I have other ones that I didn't get time, but all these other ones, I make snack mixes. Everything's possible. They have keto cereal now, and even if you don't want to do keto, right? They have sugar-free stuff. Again, it's with stuff to get, all the labels. I don't have time to go through every single thing. Usually, you can find videos of good nutritionists online who will do like these grocery hauls, right? So they'll go through Walmart or Aldi and they'll show you how to read a label, what to buy. I don't know if we're going to do that. Maybe one day, depends. We'll see what the interest is like. But, we can go show you how to actually go grocery shopping and the stuff that we normally get. But what else? We are so used to eating the way we eat. And I'm sure many people will not be happy with changes, especially during Yaz. Yeah, of course not. And that's why I said, don't worry about everybody else. If they want to continue living their lifestyle, okay, let them do that. A lot of people can't make changes, and we understand, right? Unhealthy eating is an addiction. Let's be very clear. A lot of us are very judgmental about people who, let's say, are addicted to drugs. You are all addicted to sugar. You're all addicted to corn oil or vegetable oil. All this unhealthy stuff you're addicted to. Personally, and even if you look nutritionally, the same response that your body has to sugar is the same one that your body has to cocaine, that your brain has. I don't make a difference between somebody who's addicted to eat both, because medically there's very little difference as well. People are addicts. You're addicted to this, but we should be honest. if you're willing to start weaning off, right, going through that spiritual nutritional rehab, then you'll see that there's a whole new world available, and then you'll start to see the difference as well. Our kids now, when the first thing they'll do if they go at any of these like schools or camps or any of these events, when people give them food or whatever, they turn it over and they check the label and they'll say, "Daddy, I didn't eat it. There's too much sugar." So we've been training our kids like that too. Now, do we let them have treats once in a while? Yeah, maybe every Jumu'ah or every other Jumu'ah we'll have pizza, we'll have ice cream. Yeah, one treat once in a while is fine. Why? Because our bodies can handle it now. Our mind, our soul can handle it because it's a once in a while thing, a treat. That's what a treat should be. The normal food is all this healthy stuff, which is still good. And that's what we have to start switching over to. Yeah. Okay, so we're 6:11. So yeah, we'll stop for today. Hopefully, inshallah, this was helpful. I think it was, just about an hour. If you'd like to see and hear more about this stuff, I can share, again, you can email me or talk to me at the center. I can share some of the dietitians, nutritionists, and YouTube experts like doctors who follow keto, paleo, all these healthy advice that they give. I'm taking it from them, right? And so I can share that with you so you can follow them as well. They've got meal plans, they've got cookbooks, they have specific medical information. They'll go through everything. So it's good to get, add those people on your Instagram account or follow them on Facebook or Twitter, wherever. Once you start making that a normal part of your life, then I guarantee you're going to start to see that big change. And your spirituality will definitely start to improve as well. Because as we said, that plateau we may be hitting in our spiritual growth could be because of our physical stuff. Hopefully, inshallah, this was beneficial. Thank you very much for listening. I know we kind of ran through stuff really quickly and went all over the place, but that's just the way it is. Let me take one more sip of coffee before we go. Anything else then, inshallah? If you benefited from this and you have specific stuff that you want to go through next time, then we can do another session and we'll have maybe specific recipes, or maybe I'll get my wife to do something. I don't know. We'll see what she says. But inshallah, we will see you all if you're coming tonight for the CBE event about building a community. We'd love to see you all then, which will start at 8:15, inshallah. So we'll see you then. Hopefully bring your ideas, like food stuff, but other things too, about how we can move into the next phase of community building. Jazakallah khair, walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ahli bayti tayyibin tahirin, wa assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Iltamas dua, khudafis.